$457.76. If there's no questions, we'll move on to the purchase requisition pre-approval. It's a smaller month compared to normal. We are requesting $19,972.60 in pre-approvals.
I have a question. Michelle, we're paying $1,000 for a membership to Western Reserve Land Conservancy.
That'd be correct.
What does that get us?
A partner membership. The rest you have to maybe John can speak.
It's a partner membership. Historically, we've maintained it because they have assisted us with land acquisition and grants. We currently, other than proposals, we don't have anything that works with them currently. So, it's at the discretion of the board whether or not they would like to maintain it.
I have no questions. You feel it?
We've historically maintained it. It really depends on how we're going to maintain that partnership, or if we're going to maintain that partnership moving forward.
Well, have they done
I
anything to
don't
secure
think you
grants?
answered my question.
Have they done anything to secure grants for us as a park district this year?
They have not, so you would not need to approve it if you so choose.
In the current year, they have not. In previous years, they've done hundreds of thousands, if not millions. for
And those
outside
are grants for
partners.
land acquisition, correct?
That's correct.
And as I understand the presentation that we had a couple months ago, those benefits are still on offer to us as a district.
That's correct. They are.
We're just waiting for us to make some decisions.
It just seems like a conflict to me that we're paying them $1,000 that we can then in turn purchase from them. They'll leave it in town. It's like paying your attorney $1,000 membership fee.
You know, as long as we're not, would that be a problem if we wanted to purchase, weren't in this agreement with them?
We also pay them, if there's a transaction in which we buy land, we pay a fee for the land. So this is a membership to be part of the Western Reserve Land Conservancy. It would be a separate fee at that time. If you do have pending, any pending or possible transactions that could happen in this year, I would highly suggest you maintain this membership.
Dave, do you have any comments on it?
I don't believe you have any legal conflict. I mean, you may think on some level that it presents you with a ethical dilemma, but legally, there's absolutely no prohibition from the park district supporting an organization that from time to time it may do business with.
Well, you know, after last month's discussion we had with the county commissioner, Mr. Clayton, was very definitely on the other side of this thing. I'm wondering whether or not we should continue that.
We do partner with them in other ways as well. We have a canoe program coming up that we'll be working with them directly. They'll be working with our national staff, and we are promoting that program. Some of our kayaks, canoes and kayaks programs.
Okay, so they do, we're doing something else.
Yes, we
in
do
addition
some,
to-
not just with land.
It's simply a membership partnership fee.
Okay.
With what Mr. Warndorf just mentioned and other things that are proposed, I would recommend to maintain it for this year. It'll come up. It will come up
Yeah.
again next year.
Okay.
Okay.
Are you ready for a motion on that?
I am ready for the motion.
To motion to pre-approve the purchase requisitions requested for $19,972.60.
So moved.
Mrs. Shumway?
Vote yes.
Mr. Gertz? Mr. Warndorf?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now for the presentation of the vouchers, including the payroll. Total is $540,826.60. Do you have any questions regarding the vouchers?
I have no questions.
I reviewed it.
Okay, I would request that they are approved for filing. A motion to accept into minutes.
I so move.
Second.
Mr. Gertz, Mrs. Shumway,
Yes.
and Mr. Warner.
Yes.
All right, thanks.
Denise must be good.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Moving on to unfinished business. Last month, we were presented with some perspectives on the Bass Lake Club agreement and where we stand on the removal or non-removal of the recreational amenities at Bass Lake, as brought forth by the Ohio EPA. As you know, they claim we're in violation of the environmental covenants. I made the recommendation to remove those recreational amenities. As asked by Mr. Horndorf, I did reach out to a couple landowners in the Bass Lake area. I reached out to Jim Bissell with the Cleveland Museum of Natural History, and he said even if he wanted to transfer 3 acres to us, he couldn't because it is also, their land was also purchased through the Ohio Environmental Covenant. So they own 194 acres to the west of us, west-northwest, and it is also enrolled in the Ohio Environmental Covenant. So, as I mentioned before, we cannot enroll through another conservation easement type program. I called a private, a realtor off Auburn Road, and land is selling for $25,000 an acre. There was 1.54 acres, which isn't enough, and I'm not aware of any other acreage at this time in the Bass Lake area. But I would recommend it be contiguous with Bass Lake, and my recommendation is still to remove the recreational amenities. So,
Well, I really appreciate your inquiry, John. Thank you very
you're
much.
welcome. And at this time, in regards to the use agreement with the Bass Lake Club, Mr. Thomas Foster, the president of the Bass Lake Club, is here because this is park business. I thought it'd be a good idea that you hear from him on the history of the use agreement that we have with the Bass Lake Club. So, Tom, you want to come forward and share with us?
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. Good afternoon, thank you for having me. We prepared a little brochure.
I'm gonna say, did the bottom sniffing dog check that?
They didn't. They didn't. These could be really bad. They're this little brochure. It actually is to help me so I don't lose my place. We've got about 10 of these. You want one? Well, as you know, my name is Thomas Foster, live in the Bass Lake community, and it's in Munson Township. I wanted to provide the Park District with a little history and why renewing our user agreement I think is so important. Why we think it's so important. Turning this has got tabs so you can follow along. Turning to the first tab, this is our original Articles of Incorporation, dated 1924. It's also our original user agreement. We've been stewards of Bass Lake for nearly 100 years. Now, the documents in this brochure are abbreviated, and I did this not with the intent to deceive you. I just wanted to focus on the issue at hand. The entire documents are readily available. So, Articles of Incorporation, 6-7 pages long. I gave you the first two so you could see we, as a community, have been around a long time, and we've been stewards of what is now the Bass Lake Reserve for a long time. And there's 5 generations of knowledge wrapped up in the community of Bass Lake. We know the lake, and we know the rules. Skipping over to the next tab. The first page is a cover letter, or cover for the Bass Lake Preservation Management Plan. It was an initial plan drawn
second page in that tab is the actual preservation and management plan. It's effectively an environmental covenant. I did put in the second page because it's got a date stamp on it. Date stamp, January 14, 2002, received by the EPA, Northeast Ohio District Office. Now, a little story, perhaps it's in, but back in 1983, a couple of kids were playing in the stream, the trout stream, and they found a couple of fish. And as the story goes, they went and got the dad called the university, and then actually what happened in 1983, the professor took it upon himself to examine the Bass Lake Preserve, or what is now the Bass Lake Preserve. And he found that these brook trout were native species to those streams, the Woody Brook stream and the Springbrook stream. All the other streams in Ohio, the brook trout are not native to. Like zebra mussels, they were imported in. Our two streams in Bass Lake are native to these streams. And because of that, and this university professor's research, the Ohio EPA started taking a look at this community. What's going on down there? And they found out it was particularly different, and particularly unique, and particularly sensitive. And so there starts the process where Ohio EPA eventually buys the land using money from this, what was it, Western Reserve, this $1,000 thing you were talking about, Western Reserve, something.
Sure.
Yeah. The money came, at least in part, in great part, from the Western Reserve Conservancy to buy the Bass Lake Preserve from the developers, Griswold or whoever it was. And now we have a park. And we've had a park, really, for 100 years for us. Now I'm going to turn to the next tab, and we're getting a little bit of meat here. This is the preservation and management plan that the Geauga Park District wrote up with EPA. And it's a bridge, the actual document's some 20 odd pages long. I'm just looking at page 12, part 4, paragraph 4.1, permitted uses. I think this is important, so I'm going to read it. Subject to the property use restrictions identified in section 4.5, members of the Bass Lake community will continue to utilize the property for defined recreational activities. Okay, that's fine. Here's where it gets interesting. Access to the property will require a park-issued permit, and the permit will be a written agreement between members of the Bass Lake community and the Geauga Park District. These are the words of the Geauga Park District. So, in 2002, the Geauga Park District said, you have to get a permit to go out on the lake, which is still the case. Permits are free, there's no cost involved. The Bass Lake community, as long as they belong to the Bass Lake Club, will get these permits as a result of their membership, and there will be a written agreement between the members of the Bass Lake community and the Geauga Park District. These are the words of the Geauga Park District, and it was in fact presented to the Ohio EPA.
Question, how does someone become a member of the Bass Lake Club? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. You belong to a certain area. It's a defined area. It would be defined.
Yes.
And then you say, I want to join.
Yes, and then?
$100 initiation fee, $100 the first 5 years, $50 a year thereafter. Now, if you want to sponsor an event, and I believe the clam bake needs a sponsor, so you're more than welcome to do this, we will credit you $50, so it will cost you nothing. That's what it takes. You belong to the neighborhood, you want to be a part of this community, and in our insular society of internet and video games and smartphones, we are a community, an old traditional community that gets together and does silly things.
So the only exclusionary measure is the residency requirement, is that correct?
That and money.
Yeah. But I mean,
Yeah.
we're
But
not.
you have to live within the restricted area.
Yeah, and it's essentially just around the lake. It's not
Very small.
there's 150 homes.
And how many members do you have at this moment in time, if I may ask?
50%, 75 members, 75 households.
And do you periodically send out invitations to the others?
We do. Our biggest membership gathering is our summer sizzler. You know, beers and brats, kids playing tag, everybody sitting around, and we invite the whole neighborhood, no cost to anybody for this. And we just have a really good time. And that's when a lot of new members will sign up. Last year, we had a membership drive where we waived the initiation fee. Worked pretty well. I think we picked up 5 or 6 members. This is an old-fashioned community straight out of the 1950s. We are, it's a wonderful place to be, and it's a wonderful group to belong to.
I'm at a loss to remember exactly where this is found, but I remember seeing something that talks about that your organization was performing a couple of other functions. You were monitoring the use of the park to make sure that its use was consistent with what now is the Park Street regulations, and you were also doing some modest cleanup.
Last Saturday, we went to a person's home. This does not directly affect the Park District, but it's in the neighborhood. We went to an elderly couple's home, and we cleaned up their yard. And it was a mess. If you look towards the back under the community agreement, there are a bunch of photographs. We put them in there actually just for fun, to give you a flavor of who we are and what we've been doing. On the second page in there are 2 photographs. The bottom photograph is when we went over and cleaned up Mrs. Stewart's yard a couple of years ago. Mrs. Stewart was 102.
She's the gal in the wheelchair there, just outside her front door.
I believe that's her, yes. Yes. And she's since passed. But, I believe that the memorial service was held at that.
But back up to my question though, I mean, it's true, isn't it, that your members perform some modest patrolling of the park? Is that not
Okay,
so?
let me address that. What do we do that makes it?
What do you do in the park itself?
Okay, good question. A few years ago, several of our community members noticed that the trout stream had foam, a lot of foam, coming down. Get on the phone, call up the Geauga Park District. We say, hey, there's something wrong. Something's going on. It ended up in on Wilson Mills. There was some sort of a pipe cleaning or some sort of event involving piping and plumbing, and the chemical they were using, and I don't have the details, was spilling off into the Springbrook, and the end result was it was killing stuff. So we discovered it. We called you up, you the Park District, and as a partnership between the Bass Lake Club and the Park District, it was stopped. It was cleaned up. The fish were saved, along with who knows what else. Occasionally we run into ATVs running up and down. But we're not vigilantes. But what you do have is a 24/7 view of the Bass Lake Reserve. I walk out to the lake every day, unless it's 4 below or something silly, and I look to see who's out there. And my son was home on leave, we cleaned up some trash while we were there. They're little things. But without these little things, it makes it we make it better. Now, we are a resource for the Park District. We have 5 generations of knowledge of this community. And we are here to help. We have knowledge of this community. So if you as the Park District want to do something, add or subtract, it wouldn't hurt to touch base with us. What do you think? I mean, we're not asking for to let us make the decision, but we have a working knowledge of this stuff. And perhaps we could stop something that shouldn't have happened. You know, working knowledge.
Yeah, in the old agreement from 2010, you may even recall this, this is in paragraph 1, and I have it right here. The association granted voting, dry dock, and shelter privileges for a period of 5 years in exchange for volunteering to assist district with maintenance of the shelter, including assisting district with small repair projects and the immediate grounds, including but not limited to assisting the district with picking up litter and maintenance of the boat launcher facility. Is your club still willing to do those things?
The other day, we had a trustees meeting. It was after a serious... Yes.
Now, would you please give us an example?
I like it. We had a trustees meeting. The wind had blown a bunch of the canoes off the racks. So, you know, it's night, it's cold. We go and put the canoes back on. We pick up a bunch of what was left over to try this trash and such. That kind of thing we do all the time. Like I said, I am out to the canoe docks every morning. I got a dog, she likes to walk. And we look, I just check it out. I say, how many boats are out there? You know, so I give it a count. We have in our agreement, is for, we have 2 boats. There's 12 boats allowed on the lake at any given space and time. And of those 12, 2 are reserved for the Bass Lake Club. The permits are free, this costs you nothing. And unless there's some sort of a regatta or something going on, there's rarely more than a half a dozen boats on there. But we keep an eye on them. It's just, we keep an eye on things. And
If you let him finish before you start making comments, okay?
yeah, supplement.
He's still speaking, please.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead, Tom.
We're about 2/3 of the way through here.
I'm sorry, I distracted you. Go ahead.
It's fine. Your questions are both on this last page, the last tab, the EPA regulations, well, there's 2 pages right at the very end. One is notes to neighbors, which is your in-house newsletter, and it dated 2003, Bass Lake Reserve, New Beginnings. Members of the Bass Lake Homeowners Association, got the wrong name wrong, but have entered into a special agreement with the Geauga Park District. Be letting everybody know. Then next page, which is a print-off from a newspaper, I believe, dated 2002. Representative Tim Rendell, the Munson Township trustees, Geauga County commissioners, and all gave enthusiastic support to the project, as did the Bass Lake community. Here it is, a group that has cared for the lake for generations. We have been around a long, long time. Okay, on my 3-legged stool, here comes the second leg. If you turn the next page to property deed, what you have here is a title guarantee, which makes reference to the purchase in 1924, of some land. Now, the deed itself is many pages long. I just took the first page. And the next page in that tab is a picture of the Bass Lake Club boathouse. It's an aerial photograph dating 1945. There's probably a story behind that, but I have no idea what it is. And we gave Park District this land, free and simple. It's yours. When the Geauga Conservancy, or the Bass Lake Conservancy, was put together. We gave you property which was probably cost us about $10,000 back in the 20s. Free. It's yours. With a handshake that you would look after us in our use of the boats. And that boils down to a use agreement and 2 boats on the boat at any given point in time. Not a big deal. And it's not costing you anything. Now, we gave up the property, and you wonder, what are we doing for you now? Well, when does the value of a property disappear? I mean, we gave it to you. Now, granted, right now, we are not mowing the lawn. We are not shoveling the snow. We are not fixing the roof of the shelter. But we are there. And we paid to be there. We paid real money to be there. We also gave up our clubhouse. Yes, we were compensated for that, but there isn't a Bass Lake Club member here that wouldn't rather have our clubhouse. In fact, there's a couple here, an older couple, that were actually married in that clubhouse, which it had a dance floor, a big interior fireplace, a full kitchen, the whole thing. And now we have a very lovely shelter. But by giving up this clubhouse, we had an agreement, an honorable agreement, with a handshake. And that doesn't go out of style. That we would get first shot or rights of first refusal for a dozen little nights at the clubhouse. We get first shot. And that's in the use agreement. It doesn't cost anything. The use agreement costs you nothing. And we've paid dearly for it. And we continue to be a partner with the Geauga County District. And we want to continue that partnership because we serve a good purpose. Sometimes it's just eyes and ears. Sometimes it's putting canoes up on racks. Sometimes it's calling you up and saying, there's pollution in the stream. Come take a look at it. Your rangers can't do that all the time. We're there all the time. We're here to help. Please use us.
There were a couple folks, this gentleman in the blue shirt.
You seem to want some more from Tom on.
Yes, answer my questions, yeah.
Okay, just as a supplement. There are members who regularly pick up trash both in the little 5-acre and park area and all around the neighborhood. Basically, what you're getting is a lot of eyes and ears. Okay. When Springbrook was first set aside as a sanctuary, we immediately started to have, on a weekly basis, dirt bikes and ATVs running right up the edge of the Springbrook stream. And through several people's efforts, going out, taking pictures of them, giving the pictures to the park rangers, because the first thing these folks would say is,